I'd like to welcome you all to our Tuesday 1:30 p.m. session with Legal Counsel for the Elderly once again. And we have Emily on once again for another wonderful session and a very relevant topic, SNAP and the recent changes. So eligibility, etc. So please ask your questions. The WildTech DC Senior Digital Inclusion Program, its owners and presenters offer technical assistance, virtual health, well-being information designed for educational purposes only. You should not rely on the info and any apps or topics made by WildTech, including but not limited to mobile device applications and any social media pages maintained by WildTech, its owner presenters as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or legal advice. Let's keep our mics in mind so that way you can hear others. This session will be recorded so you can review it and share it with others if you'd like. Well, let's make sure you take your screenshots and or have your notes next to you so that way you can also absorb that information. And be sure to use the closed captions. If you have maybe right now a hard time of hearing what's going on, you can use the captions to see what someone is saying. Without further ado, Emily, if you could introduce yourself and your topic for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to learn a lot.
Hi, everyone. One moment, bear with me while I try to share my screen and the presentation. One moment. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay,
And then you
thank you
can
so
hit
much.
hide. You see it says app.zoom.us. You can hit
Yeah,
hide.
okay, perfect.
Thank
Okay,
you.
well, thank you so much for having me today. My name's Emily Ford. I'm a staff attorney with Legal Counsel for the Elderly, and I work in the Public Benefits Unit. And so what I do is I do Social Security and Veterans benefits, and then I also do some other things like Medicaid and SNAP benefits. And so, just a little bit about us first. I know you've probably heard this a couple of times before, but Legal Counsel for the Elderly, we champion the dignity and rights of Washington, D.C. elders by providing free legal and social work services to those who in need. And so we work with the older adult population, including housing, economic security, self determination, and health and safety. And so some examples of our key work is our housing unit helps people avoid eviction and foreclosure and address housing code violations. The Economic Health and Security Unit, which is what I'm in, we help people secure public and veterans benefits and tax rebates that they're entitled to while also helping people avoid scams and financial exploitation. Self-determination, we help people create documents like wills, powers of attorney, and transfer and death deeds so that they can make decisions about their future and handling their assets. And then health and safety, we ensure people receive the health care and safety that they are entitled to, whether it's in their homes or in nursing homes or in other long-term care facilities. And then finally, we assist with all those things, and so we also advocate. So we take the lessons of our work with thousands of older adults each year and advocate for changes to statewide laws and regulations. So we're in the midst of the DC Council right now, and we also engage with hundreds of pro bono attorneys from law firms, corporations, and government to provide direct client services and support. Okay, so why we are here today. We're going to talk about SNAP. So we're going to talk about some of the requirements for SNAP, some of the new changes, and then we're going to talk about recertification. So first things first, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar, but what is SNAP? So the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as SNAP and otherwise known as food stamps, is a federal nutrition program that provides monthly benefits on an EBT card to eligible individuals. It can be a useful tool to help households pay for groceries and maximize their budgets. SNAP can be used at most stores that sell food. It can be used to purchase non-prepared foods, as well as some plants and seeds to grow your food. SNAP in DC, about 140,000 district residents are participate in SNAP. And SNAP helps everyone. So for every $1 spent on SNAP, that starts $1.80 of economic activity. So first things first that you need to know if you're eligible for SNAP or not, you need to know what is a household. So for SNAP, a household is a group of people who live together, buy food as a group, and prepare meals as a group. So you do not have to be related to be a SNAP household. There are many scenarios in which more than one SNAP household can share the same residence. And a SNAP household does not necessarily need a permanent mailing address. So, for instance, if you are in a shelter, you can still be eligible for SNAP benefits. The following people must be considered a household, even if they purchase their food separately. So those are spouses who live together and parents and children under the age of 22. This is even if the child is married or has a child of their own. But if they're living together, they're considered a household. Next, I'm going to talk about the income guidelines. It gets a little confusing here because there are two different categories. So the first is gross income. So this is the amount of income a household receives before taxes and deductions. And so in order to be eligible, you must make below 130% of the federal poverty guidelines. So in DC for 2026, that's about 1,696 for a household of one. But households with older adults, so 60 plus, and people with disabilities are not subject to these gross income limits. So because of that, we then go to the next category, which is net income. So net income is the amount of income a household has after taxes and deductions. And so for those who are 60 plus, you must be below 100% of the federal poverty guidelines. But remember, this is after we do all of the deductions, which we're going to talk about later. So for a household of one, that's around 1,305. And then separate from those qualifications, if a SNAP household receives cash benefits or SSI, they are categorically eligible. And so what that means, it doesn't mean that you're automatically get on SNAP benefits if you get SSI or cash benefits, which is TANF. What it means is you automatically meet these income guidelines. And so when you apply, it goes by much quicker, and you have to there's less proof that's necessary. So before we talk about the deductions, we also need to talk about another distinction, and that's earned versus unearned income. And so earned income is income that comes from a job. It's something that you do something and you get benefit in exchange. Unearned income is any other income. So that includes cash assistance, Social Security, unemployment benefits, and child support. This is an important distinction because for SNAP benefits, they're calculated differently. So for instance, if you earn your income, you get a 20% deduction on how much more SNAP benefits you will get. And then some other deductions are if you owe child support, you could get more SNAP benefits because you're paying more money towards something. Excess shelter costs. And so what this means is we all know that it's very expensive in DC. And so if your shelter costs more than half of your income, you can get a deduction for your SNAP benefits. And if you are 60 plus, there is no limit on that deduction. So if you're under 60, there is a limit. And shelter costs goes towards if you're renting, but it also goes if you own your house. And some other costs that can go towards this are property taxes and mortgage. The next one is a standard utility allowance. Just need to change that bullet right there. And so if you pay for utilities, so water or Pepco or Washington Gas, you can also get a deduction that can help you meet that income threshold. And then finally, if you're over the age of 60, you can also deduct out-of-pocket medical expenses of more than $35 a month. And so, what this means is when you go to apply or when you go to recertify, I always tell people to bring in a couple of things. Always bring in proof of your income, always bring in proof of your rent or your housing expenses, always bring in your utility costs. And then, if you have any out of pocket medical expenses, bring those as well, because we want to make sure you're getting as much SNAP benefits as you're entitled to. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the eligibility changes. And so, what is changing? There was a big bill that went into place last year, was passed by the federal government, and DC is slowly rolling out these changes. And so, there's three big ones that I want to talk about. The first one is there are going to be work requirements for most adults. There are going to be changes to that SNAP utility allowance that I just talked about. And then finally, many non-citizens will now be ineligible to receive SNAP. Okay, first things first, the work requirements. And so what the requirements are is that most adults now can only receive SNAP benefits for 3 months within a 36-month period unless they submit proof that they are working, volunteering, or enrolled in a SNAP employment training for at least 20 hours per week. Now, if you have received SNAP or currently receiving SNAP, you probably received a couple of letters from the district kind of urging you that these SNAP requirements are going into place. At first, they were going into place in May, and now they're going into place in June. And it's kind of a scary letter, and they sent it to everyone. What I want everyone to know is that there are exemptions. So if you're under the age of 18 or over the age of 65, this does not apply to you. So if you're in between the ages of 18 or 65, you can also be exempt if you have a disability. You can also be exempt if you are a caregiver of a child under the age of 14 or if you are pregnant. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the timeline, because you're not just going to June 1st just automatically have to work. So what's going to happen is during your regular recertification, someone from DHS is going to assess you for these work requirements and for these exemptions during your recertification. So at that time, if anything else is needed for an exemption, so for instance, if you have a disability and you're under the age of 65, they will ask you to fill out a form from your doctor saying that you can't work because of your disability. DHS will provide that to you, and they'll give you a certain amount of time. I think it'll be about 90 days to get that back to them. And so that is a little bit about how these work requirements are going to work and in the timeline. I know people have had a lot of questions about this in general. Does anyone have any questions right now that you would like me to answer?
Oh, thank you, Emily, for doing such a wonderful job of explaining everything so simply and easily. I know it can get overwhelming sometimes with all the different terms. So I feel like I have learned so much. So thank you for sharing. Anyone would like to hit reactions at the bottom or hit more at the bottom and then raise hand? Do you have a question about the work requirements? Anything that Emily has presented so far? Any questions? You can raise your hand. You can also, okay, you can rate any other hands, and then we'll hear any other questions. Okay. Anne, you have a question for Emily?
Hi, Emily. Yes,
Hi.
my name is Ann Dennis. I wanted to know, are there going to be any changes in the people who are on disability and have no dependents.
Yes, and so when you say on disability, do you mean do you receive like SSI or SSDI? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I get a disability.
Yes, yes. And so I'm really glad that you brought that up because so there are two ways that you can prove that you're exempt for a disability. The first one is a form that DHS is going to send out that your doctor can fill out. The second one is you will be exempt if you're on a federal or state level disability program. And so an example of that is SSI, SSDI. If you're waiting for SSI and you're on the state program called Interim Disability Assistance or IDA, that's also an exemption. Or even if you're on a short-term disability or long-term disability, that is also an exemption. Now, as for how,
Okay.
oh, go on.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was about to say, as for how the exemption will actually work, I'm not quite sure yet. Um, I think it depends on if SNAP has access to or DHS has access to that information. They still may request that you provide verification of your disability. So, so pretty much that letter that Social Security sends you each year saying that you're on SSI or SSDI. Just make sure that you have that paperwork just in case they ask for it to prove that you can't work.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. That was a really great question, and I'm really glad that you brought that up.
You're welcome.
Any other
Any,
questions? Oh, thank you for asking that, Anne. Okay, Yvonne, any requirement questions? Anything we've talked about so far? There you go.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Emily. Emily, under household income, you quoted a figure, I think it said $1,305 for a family of one. Now, was that a monthly income that you were referring to?
yes, thank you so much for bringing that up. That is monthly income, yes. But remember, that's the income after all the deductions. And so those deductions include your housing costs, your utility costs, and your medical expenses. So even if you make more than 1,300 a month, you may still be eligible, if you have high medical expenses, if your housing costs are high, um, or um, or if you pay for utilities.
So this is after all of your other expenses.
Yes, or not all of your expenses, but those specific ones.
Right, utilities and
Yes, yes, and I want to be clear because I don't think I explained this very well. It's not like a one for one. So it's not you have a certain amount of money and then you subtract all of your utility costs. They have their own formula of how much you subtract if you have utility expenses or how much you subtract if you have housing expenses. And after I am done with the presentation, I can show you all a good tool to kind of that can estimate how much SNAP benefits you are eligible for, given all of those kind of formulas that DHS uses. Okay.
right, all right. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
And thank you for your question. Any other questions? You can unmute yourself before we go on to the next slide. You can unmute yourself if you have any questions. Any questions about anything Emily has talked about so far? But thank you all for raising your hands. I think we're good, Emily.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so going on to the next two big changes. The next one is one of the deductions that I spoke about. So the SNAP utility allowance. So DC currently applies the maximum standard utility allowance to all SNAP calculations. So everyone, whether they know it or not, is getting this deduction. But now DC
Didn't
will
realize that.
Yes, but now DC will require proof that the beneficiary is paying for
But I
utilities.
thought you already had to give like your utility bill to them
Yes,
anyway.
and so it really is depends on
At
who
one
you
point,
talk to
so currently they had the
at
standard
DHS.
utility allowance. Now they're making the people actually do the documentation.
Yes. And so that's why we recommend if you go in through for your recertification, just make sure you bring it in just in case, because not all of the people who you see at DHS are trained in the same way. And so there are exceptions. Again, so if you're elderly or have a disabled family member in the home, they should give this to you regardless of the documentation. But just to stay safe, if you have the allowance, I would just have the utility expenses. I would just bring in the paperwork just in case. Okay. And then finally, there are going to be changes for non-citizens. And so starting in November 2025, SNAP eligibility rules for non-citizens will change to only include the following. So if you're a US citizen or US national, if you're a lawful permanent resident, so a green card holder, if you're a Cuban or Haitian entrant, if you're a person lawfully present under a compact of free association, and so an example of that is like Micronesia. And SNAP will no longer cover the lawfully present immigrants with the following statuses. So if you're a refugee, you're no longer eligible for SNAP. If you're an asylee or an asylee applicant, you're not eligible. People who have applied through the Violence Against Women Act, victims of human trafficking, lawful present immigrants not in these narrow qualifying groups, and humanitarian parolees. So this is a big change going forward, and unfortunately, it's from the federal government, and so DC doesn't have any wiggle room in these determinations.
Awesome. So the federal government in DC, what they make different rules?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, SNAP is from the
Yeah.
federal.
So that's a really good question. Oops, sorry. And so the federal government, kind of makes the floor of the rules, and so every state must meet certain requirements, and then states can kind of determine based on their funds certain eligibility requirements. And so all of these changes right here are changes from the federal government that they're saying DC and all the other states have to make. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the SNAP application recertification process. Is there any other questions about the changes that we wanna chat about before I do that?
Could you pass through those 3 slides once again, Emily?
Yeah.
You have the work requirements, and mainly I think the utility allowance are the main ones that affect those maybe on the call.
Yes.
I was surprised because I had assumed that for SNAP that if you do report a utility payment, I thought you had to provide the documentation. So you're saying that you have to now. So let's say you report your phone and your electric bill and the amount. So you have to provide the documentation for both of those.
Yeah. Yes. For to get the deduction. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Thank
so, yeah, so you wouldn't need to necessarily, to get the deduction, I think you only have to show one. And so you wouldn't necessarily need to show proof, for the Pepco and the gas. But again, different people are trained differently. And so I would just give them everything you have.
Any other questions? You can raise your hand in Zoom. Any other questions, thoughts? I see someone in the chat. So, Emily, what do you think the changes will have on the effect of SNAP, like the amount of people that receive it, or what do you think these changes will have in the district?
No, that's a really, really good question. And so I think different people differ and how things are going to change. DHS right now is saying that they are not expecting enrollment to go down. But the reason the federal government put these changes in place is because they want to save money on SNAP, and what saving money on SNAP means is that less people will be enrolled and less people will receive SNAP benefits. And so there are many differing estimates on how many people they think will lose SNAP. And I'm not sure which ones are correct, but I do believe there will be less SNAP enrollment, especially after the work requirements go into effect.
Any other questions? Any other comments? And this has been very helpful. Again, please share what you learned today with others as well. I see some hands. Okay. I know you have some other stuff, Emily, too. I appreciate us having this pause. Okay,
Yeah, of course.
we have Yvonne, and then Anne, and then Miss Denise.
Yes, I know Emily's probably going to cover this next, but Emily, the application for SNAP can be completed online. Am I correct?
Yes, yes. So
But
there's a couple of different ways to complete it, and it's actually, I don't know if it's the next slide, but it's one of the slides. So I'll make sure to stop there so that you can take a picture.
documentation would have to be mailed in, I guess, documentation.
Yes, so you can either submit it online, go in person, mail it, or fax it.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. That was my question.
Thank you.
Alex.
Oh, thank you, Yvonne. Yes, online. Try to, if you can upload online, do everything online, makes it much easier. We have Denise and then Miss Marie. Any questions about anything we covered so far? Denise, do you have a
I'm
question for
sorry.
Emily?
Oh,
It's okay.
yes. My question is, I received SNAP and I received such a low amount, but um every little bit helps, but I don't understand why when they do give a raise, I still don't, they might give me $1, but it still amounts to $30, the same thing. I
Yeah.
never, and I was saying $30 is very low amount, because the way food and stuff is high now, that's not much at all. I have to put money to that $30, which I would have to anyway if I need to eat if I didn't get the $30. But I'm just wondering why it's always so low like that.
Yeah, no, it is quite low. And so the lowest that you can receive and still be eligible is actually $30. And so that might be why, even if there is like a change for cost of living, yours is always stayed at 30. And so technically, like, it's called the state, if we want to get technical, it's called the state supplement. And so, for instance, let's say based off of all their calculations, you're
Yeah.
over 18, the state will supplement so that you always get 30. As for why that is the case, I think people who have much smarter than me, but maybe not as much experience with actually living on day to day without money, have come up with these arbitrary guidelines. And so
Yeah, because I see the two payment difference. One from the state, I think $6. One from the federal, $24.
yeah,
Which add up
that's why.
to $30.
Yeah, because the minimum that you can receive and still be eligible is 30.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So if I get a raise in January, I might not be eligible or it's still gonna stay because I've been getting that 30 for like 2 years.
Yeah, and so one thing also, if you would like, so I'm gonna show you this calculator.
Mm-hmm.
But also if it's something where you think it's low, and you don't understand why, you can always give a call to our hotline, and
Mm-hmm.
we can figure out if it's correct or not. And so I know our hotline number will be at the end of this presentation. So you can also always feel free to give them a call. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we might not be able to change it. Unfortunately, some things are just
Right. Yeah.
are. But if you want peace of mind to know that you're getting everything that you're supposed to be getting, we can always do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Uh,
Thank
I rec
you.
Thank you, Denise.
Mm-hmm.
Robin did such an amazing session on doing the public benefits check-in with you all at Legal Counsel. So that is what came to mind, that public benefits check-in. So you can make sure you're getting the most for what,
Yes.
you know, what you deserve. So I did
Yes.
put Legal Counsel's hotline number in the chat.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you,
Any other?
Denise. We have Miss Marie. You have a question for Emily? Thank you for asking. Miss Marie, make sure you hit unmute in the middle, okay?
Okay. Hi,
Mm-hmm.
this is her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So much documents are online now, like your bank statements or places like the utility companies or your phone companies are doing stuff online. So how
Mm-hmm.
do you give them copies of those? You have to print it out and bring it.
So you can do it a couple of different ways. And so, yes, you can print it out and bring it in. But there also is, so there's a phone app and a web app. It's called District Direct. And then you can apply through District Direct, and you can also do recertification and upload your documents through District Direct.
Okay, thank you.
Nope, no problem. Okay, if there's no other questions, I'm going to move on to application and recertification. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the process. And so there are a couple of different ways to apply. And so the first is online. It's called District Direct. I put a link to the website right here. There's also a District Direct mobile app if you go to your app store. Other ways, you can also go in person, fax, or mail after completing a paper application. And applications can be mailed or dropped off at any ESA, so Economic Security Administration Service Center. Again, I've talked about this a bunch of times, but when you apply and when you recertify, they ask for verification documents. Here are some examples of documents that they may ask for. One being proof of identity, so your social security card, proof of DC residency, so a license or a DC residence card, proof of your social security number, proof of income, proof of shelter expenses. So again, that could be your lease if it has your updated amount, a ledger, your property taxes or your mortgage, proof of utility expenses. So that could be a Pepco bill or a BGE bill, proof of medical expenses. And so if Medicaid isn't paying for all of your prescriptions, so your copays. And then proof of dependent care expenses, if that applies for you, or a proof of your immigration status if you're not a US born citizen. All right, and so there are different certification periods depending on your age. And so a certification process is how long a household will receive benefits before needing to complete another recertification form. So provide all those verification documents. So for most households, it's 12 months. But for households that comprise entirely of people over the age of 60 or with disabilities and they have no earned income, so known as working. So basically, nothing is changing. For those households, it's every 3 years. And then if you're experiencing homelessness, because things are changing a lot, that certification process is every 6 months. You should not have to remember when your certification period is. You should get a notice from DHS, either written or on your app. But you can also always check in. If you're not sure when it is, you can call. There's the DHS hotline. All right, and I'm sure you've probably seen this before, but I just wanted to send it again. We have some senior kits, and so some basic information that's here about public benefits. You can go to the QR code and go to the link on the website. We also have some physical copies, yes, so we talk about, SNAP, Medicaid, Social Security, VA benefits, if you're interested. And this is a little bit what it looks like. And again, this is our number. While I'm finding this tool, just so we can all estimate our SNAP benefits. Does anyone have any questions while I'm doing that?
Oh, thank you again for your wonderful session, Emily. And yes, I was going to say, yes, those EHS kits were so. Robin has talked about them before, so I'd love for you to, once you copy this link, yeah, the DC hunger calculator. I remember that. Once you share it, yes, we love to see that QR code. So that way, if you have your phone, you can also again just go to your camera app and use it to scan the QR code from that presentation as well. But any questions about anything that Emily has shared with us today? Any questions?
Sorry about that. Yes, so if you have any questions, I'm just going to show you. So I put this link in the chat. It is a calculator based on DC and your SNAP amount. And it goes through DHS's, all of their formulas. And so it's not necessarily exact. And so I wouldn't go up to DHS and be like, well, this is necessarily right, but it's a good estimate. Okay. And so I'm just going to make up some numbers here, if that's okay with everyone. And so it asks you, so how many total people live in your household? So again, a household is only people who buy and prepare food together. So let's just say there's a household of 1. And let's say that everyone is receiving SSI or TANF, and that we're a U.S. citizen. All right, and then it tells you to either put in your earned income, and we spoke about that. Earned income is income that you work for, and unearned income is everything else: SSI, SSDI, Social Security, retirement. And so I'm just going to put in the SSI amount. And then let's say we're over 60. And let's say that we have, $50 that we spend on medical care. And we don't have dependent care expenses or child support. All right. And let's just say that we do pay for heating and cooling, and that our rent is around $600. So in that case, it says that this person should receive around $246, and then it gives kind of the estimate as to why. And so this is a really good just way to have a gut check to see if you're getting the right amount. And I'm sorry, I didn't realize actually I was still sharing my screen. Okay, good.
Yes.
So everyone saw that.
We thought you were.
Okay, good.
That's okay, Emily. I remember seeing that check-in. So the chat, again, make sure you check out the first one called DC Younger Solutions. That's the calculator, and then the EHS kit is that AARP link in the chat. So let's all make sure we check out the chat.
All
Um,
right. I see a
any
couple of questions.
Yes, thank you all. Again, please raise your hand if you have any questions. We Denise, did we answer your question, or do you still have a question for Miss Emily? Make sure you hit unmute in the middle. Denise, are you there? All
Yes,
right.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Uh-huh.
No, I just wanted to tell her that I have that First Direct portal, and it's very good because I can go check in there and check on my different income, my Medicaid, my food stamps,
Yeah.
whatever. All that is in there. And then if I
Yes.
want to attach something new, I can.
Yes, the
Mhm.
And
upload documents section in the
yeah,
District Direct app.
uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can also, check when it's time to renew things. And
Yes, with the messages in there, they send you
uh-huh.
different
So it's
messages and
good
the
to have that. It's
verifications.
good to have that. And you can do your application if you're new to the system. You can go in there and make your First Direct portal, go in there and fill the SNAP application out and send it in, and then they'll get in contact with you and they'll tell you if you need other documents. You don't have to go into the office. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's why I found the link for the website where either you can download from the App Store if you have an Apple device, or from the Play Store if you have an
Mm-hmm.
Android device. So many folks on the call have Snap. If you don't have District Direct app, make sure you download it to take advantage of it.
And I wanted to ask you a quick question. I seen something I was reading or looking at. They were saying they was trying to crack down on people. It might be in another state selling their food stamps and stuff like that. They was trying to crack down on that. You know how
Yeah.
people sell their stamps and things like sometimes people do it because they need to make ends meet. But you know, I don't understand. But they say they was trying to do that because it was going on a little too much now.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
people like me need some stamps. And they got people that get them and they sell them
Well,
too.
they're not supposed to because it's in the guidelines. So I'm
Well, a
sure
lot of
Emily can, I'm
things we
sure
don't
I'm
supposed to
sure
do.
Emily can speak on that.
A lot of things we
Yeah.
don't supposed to do, but people do.
Yeah, and I'm not aware of any specific initiative other than what they were doing before about cracking down on fraud or about selling food stamps. But I do want to caution you to not to, because they may be cracking down more in the future, and you could potentially get yourself barred from
Mm-hmm.
food stamps in the future. And so everyone has to do what they have to do. I can't perpetuate or
Yeah,
no,
right. Me either.
but you just need to know what the consequences are. And so I would want to caution people against doing that because you could lose eligibility for STEP benefits.
Yeah, if you get caught. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, but thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Denise. Yvonne, the link for that QR code is in the chat, so you can just go to the chat and go to the AARP link. So I just shared it again in the chat. Okay, Yvonne? That way it's one less step. Jeanette, you have a question or a comment for Emily today? Thank you for your patience.
Yes. Hi, both of you, Alexander and Emily. You mentioned that you can also I always use I go online because that's the best way. But I have, because I was wanted to fax it,
Mhm.
but it didn't work. So has it changed that you can fax? In fact, I went into the office. I had to go into the office and they told me, oh, we don't accept fax. So has that changed?
So it hasn't changed. There is a fax machine. There is a fax number. You can fax things in. I But things when they are faxed in tend to go missing more than others. And so, I mean, here at Legal Counsel for the Elderly, we do fax in a lot of our applications. A lot of our clients do not have access to the internet or cannot use the or cannot go in person. But I do find that we have to follow up a lot more. And sometimes when you meet someone in person or call someone on the phone, they automatically assume that you can't fax things in. So that it wasn't correct information that they shared with you. But I also want to give the caveat that you can fax it in, but you will likely have to follow up because I don't think they get many applications that way. And so the kind of I don't want to say it's the best way, but you're more likely to get a response using the online portal.
District Direct.
Yeah,
Yes.
or if you go in person. But if you go in person, I would make sure to ask for a receipt. They used to not give out receipts. They're supposed to give out receipts now. And so just so that you can prove that you did actually submit something, when or if, they ask for the same verification again, for instance.
It wasn't the problem was that it didn't go through. The fax didn't
gotta
go
fill
through.
out. Really got to look at that District Direct app, Ms. Jeanette. Do you have that on your phone or your iPad?
I use my desktop computer, and
Okay.
I faxed. I did do District Direct.
Yes, I would just use that as your verification because you can see the
Yes.
status of
Can I
your
call,
application through
please?
District Direct. Even if you do fill it out in person or even by fax, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure that the District Direct app will be able to tell that you did it that way and show the status of your application. So I would just,
Yes, I
that's
had
my
a problem with that too because they had me as a person who was disabled, and I wasn't. So then I had to screenshot and send this and that, which I did. They finally got it straight. But by then the time limit had gone past, so I had to do a whole new application. But anyway, it's frustrating, but I'm quite adept at using the computer. I'm just saying this for people to know that sometimes I had all the numbers, the fax numbers. Not one, they kept saying no answer. That's what it said.
Okay.
No answer.
Yes, and I do want to say if you run into that again, if they're saying that the time has passed, you haven't been able to give us these verifications, and you've been trying, I think that'd be a really good time in the future to give us a call, because we want to make sure that doesn't happen, especially when it seems like it might have been a mistake on their end.
Yes, I mean I finally went through, but it was just frustrating.
Well,
and
make sure you give legal counsel a call if you don't want to ever feel like that with something that you deserve. So you always make sure everyone takes advantage of the resources. Okay, is everyone going to give legal counsel a call for snippet of the many other things we've talked about today, and with legal counsel like SNAP and housing and taxes, public benefits, wills. I mean, everything, right, Emily? I mean, if you have a legal question, just call and ask. The worst.
We'll hopefully put you in the right direction.
Yeah, the worst that anyone can say when you give them a call is no. So just try to, but legal counsel is always going to refer you somewhere if they cannot specifically help you. So you just got to, give them a call. We don't have to do things by ourselves. So just for
I don't
everyone,
mind.
everyone on the call, we don't feel like you have to be by yourself. Make sure you utilize the resources that we have.
I know I'm a do it myself person, so
Okay, wonderful.
But I have used elderly, what do you have to call it? My brain is not working right now, but I do use them for other issues.
I know you do. I know you said you called, and we love that. You keep using the resources here in DC.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you, Ms. Jeanette.
Miss Marie, you have another question, comment for us today?
Yes, I keep calling legal counsel for the elderly, and I'm not getting any response. And I'm leaving voicemails too. No one has
Yeah.
responded to me.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, I'm really sorry that that's been happening. Have you given them a call recently about an issue you have right now?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm wondering, would you be able to private message me your email, and I can reach out to our
I don't
Emily,
have
I
an
can.
email address.
Yeah. Well, Miss Emily, I got you. Okay, for
Oh,
Miss.
okay, thank you.
I
That'd be
got you.
great, and
Okay.
I can see if we can try to have someone give you a contact. I'll give you a call.
Okay.
Yeah, Miss Marie, it's your mail app on your device. You got to check your mail app, okay, for your emails. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. I think we have time for one more question. Thank you, Anne, and everyone. Anne, you have a last question or comment for Emily today?
I have a comment for you, Emily.
Mhm.
People have called that hotline, and the hotline doesn't seem to be working. I've talked to Ivan, and I've talked to several other people. Um, because when you're asked to do things for legal counsel for the elderly, and you go out there and you put your name out there
Mhm.
as helpful, and then uh, the hotline is not working, it makes it difficult.
Yeah. No,
And
thank you. Thank you for letting us know. Yes, we know we've been having some staffing issues, and so we apologize. So what my rule of thumb is, if you've tried to call 3 times and you haven't been able to reach anyone, reach out to me, or reach out to Mr. Alex, who can reach out to me, and we can try to get you connected, because we really don't want to miss anyone. And thank you for letting me know.
Your
what
colleagues have shared to try to call in the morning. Is that right, Emily?
Yeah. Yes.
that doesn't work either, Alex.
Well,
I'm just
y-
being honest with you.
I know you
honest.
are.
I know I'm an honest person. I'll tell you, I fussed about it because in the meetings, at the advisory council meeting,
Mhm.
because you go to places. I've had them come out to speak at the River Terrace organization and at my
Mhm.
church and stuff, and it's very frustrating to have your name out there and you're pushing, and then they can't get through, and then they blame you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for letting us know. I'll make sure that I mean, we're aware of the issue, and it sounds like you're connected with the advisory council, so you know who you're working with also. But I'll make sure that I let people know.
Okay, darling. I'm just making that, and I'm not trying to criticize anybody. It's not your
No,
fault.
no, it's
No,
okay.
thank
And
you.
anyone call. Don't feel sorry for sharing how you feel. I mean, as long as you share in a respectful way what you did, and you did it, and we want people to take advantage of the service. So thank you so much, Anne, for sharing. And thank you all for your questions and comments. And I hope this was helpful again for someone that especially with those snap changes. Again, it can be, a little difficult to navigate if you're not familiar with the terms and, with the tools such as like the district direct and those public benefits check-ins. You may not be getting anything right now because you haven't applied, but you could be getting $200. You may never know of SNAP. So you have to make sure you utilize all the tools. So in the chat, there's the District Direct website with the mobile apps, whether it's for your Android, iPhone, the EHS Senior Kits, the AARP link, and this DC Hunger Solutions. That is the calculator you can use to make sure you are getting what you deserve. So those are the links in the chat. Any last comments? Oh, we have one more hand. I'll take one more hand, and then we must go after that. So say goodbye to Emily. But thank you, Ms. Bishop. You have a last question or comment for Emily today?
Yes, I would like to have Emily's information.
Yes, I can share my information here.
This session will be on our YouTube channel, so you can review and rewind this video as much as you'd like, okay?
I put my
Okay.
my email in the chat. Okay, Ms. Bishop.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any last words, Emily? Last thoughts? What did you think of the questions and the group? And any last words of advice for the group until next time?
Thank you so much for inviting me today. If you have any questions, just let me know. And I really appreciate everyone's time.
Oh, thank you, Emily. Let's all thank Emily for a wonderful session today. And thank you so much for presenting to everyone. I learned so much. Let's all thank Emily for an amazing session.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
you,
Thank
Emily.
you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you. I hope you all have a
Thank you
wonderful